Hello, everyone. Very tough topic today. We have a crisis. A silent epidemic is sweeping through our nation, and most of us are just choosing to look away. More than 50% of US adults are now living with prediabetes or diabetes, a ticking time bomb inside our own bodies. But here's the most heartbreaking truth. When we're told that we have this condition, most of us do nothing, absolutely nothing. We make excuses. We negotiate with our health. We pretend the warning signs are not real. But those uncontrolled sugar levels are not just numbers on a page, they are on a direct path to devastation. Blocked arteries in your legs, blocked arteries in your heart. These aren't just medical terms, they're your future, a future filled with premature heart attacks, potential strokes, the horrifying possibility of amputation. Yes, amputation. Well, today we are done with excuses. We are turning fear into empowerment with world renowned diabetes reversal expert Dr. Michael Danziger. We're going to expose every single lie we tell ourselves and transform them into a battle cry for our health. This isn't just a show, this is your wake up call. Please join us, engage, make sure you post your questions in the comment section and we will get to them. Dr. Michael Danziger, are you ready for a powerful episode?
I'm with you 100%, Kim.
Okay, where should we start? I mean, you get the diagnosis for diabetes or pre-diabetes, and I think we should start with the pre-diabetes because so many people are told, well, you're on the verge, you're right there, just start eating better. But do you? Do you think that this is real? Do you take action?
You make a very important point, Kim. This is the beginning of the year. It's 2025. It's a clean slate for all of us. And many of us make New Year's resolutions that we keep for a day or a week or a month, but not for a full year and not for a full lifetime. And I can see why you are so upset when we think about all the missed opportunities out there. And I see that with prediabetes all the time. And I see it in patients who have full fledged type 2 diabetes that could have been turned around
Yeah.
early and wasn't. And every once in a while, I'll have a patient who says to me, I wish I had taken better control of my health 10 years ago. Maybe I wouldn't have had this stroke or this heart attack or this, need for insulin shots. And so it's never too late to turn things around. And so no matter where we are on our journey, let's decide right here and now. No more excuses, no more delaying, no more procrastinating. And let's get real and let's make it happen. 2025 can be a great year for all of us. Um, so those are my opening thoughts today.
And no more saying, hey, I'm just a little bit over. I'm just a little bit into the abnormal because Dr. Michael Danziger, correct me if I'm wrong, but even one sugar molecule that is floating around can end up wreaking havoc on your arteries. It's like nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah, I do like to think about blood sugar molecules as having a sharpness to them, scraping the arteries. And um, blood sugar molecules literally do injure the proteins that are in the blood vessels. And so if you think about them as scraping, yes, and the kidneys and the nerves and the eyes are all damaged by high blood sugar levels, but the arteries are as well. And so one of the excuses that we hear is, well, this is I'm in the early stages. I don't feel the prediabetes. I don't feel the diabetes. Doesn't really affect, it doesn't cause me any pain or a physical symptom. And then it's out of mind. And if you could feel what it's if your arteries don't have nerves on the insides, but if you could feel the inflammation that's happening in your arteries, then you would do something to take that pain away. And it's kind of a shame that we can't feel when our arteries are on fire, because then, that would light a fire under all of us to stop the excuses and make it happen. So just because it doesn't hurt today, just because you're not suffering a symptom today, that's not a good excuse for delaying.
Yeah, I mean, our bodies are miraculous, and so our arteries in particular, they're pretty hefty, they're pretty resilient, and they are working hard. They work hard, they work hard. You don't feel anything, you don't feel their pain all the way up until the point when heart attack, stroke, and or amputation are imminent. I mean, they work hard to protect you for so long and keep you going, but they can only do so much. They help some people, get into their 70s and if not 80s, without worrying about mitigating those risk factors and eating better and exercising. But I think for most of us, I think that we're starting to see with diabetes becoming such an epidemic sooner rather than later. We have teens that are getting pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, which is directly related to diet and a sedentary lifestyle. And those patients, according to Science Direct, are more and more presenting in emergency rooms in advanced stage peripheral artery disease between the age of 18 and 27, meaning they have plaque buildup already in their leg arteries that is leading to debilitating pain and ultimately amputation sooner rather than later. And that's scary.
100%. That is scary. And another excuse that I often hear from patients is, "Oh, my doctor didn't make a big deal about it. It didn't, my doctor didn't seem that alarmed. He said I had prediabetes and I should lose weight, or he said I've got, diabetes and, and I'm at risk for complications, but the doctor didn't seem that alarmed." Well, that's because the doctor's seeing that day in and day out, and it has done you a disservice by not making a big deal about it. But it's an emergency. When you discover that you have prediabetes or diabetes, the time to act is now. Get on with it. So just because the doctor didn't seem that alarmed, not a good enough excuse.
I know with my dad, it was back in 2001 or 2002. I remember that they first told him that he was pre-diabetic. But oh, not to worry about it. They sent him home with a, glucose monitor for just a little bit amount of time and said, "Well, you're maintaining that level at the pre-diabetes, so no problem." Fast forward in 2017, he was on the verge of a heart attack. And now it's just a fight every single day with a revolving door of procedures to maintain those vessels open. And now he has to go to the extreme with his diet versus back then,
Yeah.
if he would have just made the healthier choices and, took everything in moderation, right? Versus eating those heavy sauces and big desserts and lots of pasta and starchy vegetables and all of that stuff. If he would have just taken that to a certain level of moderation, he might not be where he is today.
Yes, a lesson we can all learn from. I think I understand part of the reason why people make excuses. And, part of it is force of habit. You've been eating a certain way, or you've been sedentary, for many decades, and turning things around is challenging just because of the momentum of the way your life has been all along. But also, I think there's a thing called the subconscious brain. Most of our brain is actually, hidden from us. And that's a whole nother topic, but it feels like we're our conscious brain is running the show, but actually the unconscious brain is has a lot to do with our choices and our mindset. And so if you imagine that there's a part of your brain that is designed to 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 minimize any exertion or to eat whatever tastes good than to seek pleasure and avoid discomfort. That is dictating a lot of our behaviors, and the subconscious brain comes up with all sorts of excuses to avoid putting in extra work even though it'll help us in the long run. And so many of us know these excuses
Yeah.
that we come up with, like, I don't have enough time, I don't know how to cook, I'm too tired to exercise, healthy food is too expensive, I don't like the taste of healthy food. I don't have access to a gym. I don't have any motivation. I'll start tomorrow. It's too hard to stick to a routine. All of these are variations on the same thing, is your brain, your subconscious brain coming up with reasons to prevent any excess exertion and to keep eating, what's delicious. And there's a part of our brain, the self-control center, that knows better and is trying to fight these excuses. And many of us can kind of feel that angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other shoulder. And those are metaphors, I think, for the pleasure center of the brain and the self-control center of the brain. And we all feel this battle. But those excuses are coming from the devils inside us.
It's interesting. Marcia, go ahead and unmute and join the conversation. Marcia was just telling me that, especially over the Midwest right now, everyone is pretty much snowed in. And I've seen many patients who are part of our exercise program that we offer through the Global PAD Association telling me they can't exercise. They can't go outside. So they're stuck indoors. I tell them that they need to just walk inside, move, 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 make that choice. I know it's boring. Here we have Marcia, who's the perfect example. And she's not filled with excuses. She could be, but she's there and she's moving around. She's exercising, even if it means walking in circles, right, Marcia?
I've done that in my garage. I walked in circles, but I have a walking pad now, so that helps. But my question, if I may I ask a question?
Yes.
Yeah. So I do usually very, very well, but the holidays were a challenge, I must say. But I'm curious, if you burn a lot of energy and exercise a lot, are you also burning a little more sugar? Like, can you stretch your sugar a little more?
Oh, yes. Great question. So yeah, when your body, your muscles and your organs, like your liver and your brain, use sugar for fuel. And so when you are exercising, you're burning even more sugar than usual for fuel. The body also burns fat for fuel, but yes, the answer to your question is, and it's a well-known technique for lowering high blood sugar levels is to exercise.
So like if, say, I'm having a really good week and burning a lot of calories, does that mean that maybe if I have a little cheat, it's not as damaging to me, being a pre-diabetic?
Well, I don't like the idea of rewarding like healthy habits with then it's a break-even situation. So, um, I'm I'm
Well, less damaging. Is it less damaging
yes,
to me?
yes, it's less damaging. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you eat something that's going to spike your blood sugar and then you sort of offset it with exercise, yes, but the reverse concept, right? The converse is also true, where if you've done something good, exercise, then you can negate it by eating something unhealthy. So it's a double-edged sword.
Thank you.
And we have Douglas who's here who actually says, when the doctor said don't worry, there's a part of us that still trusts that doctor, especially when they don't make a big deal about it, right? Douglas, you experienced that yourself.
I think that's part that goes both ways with PAD. Also, is that they have the white coat on, and if he's not worried or panic about it, why should I? If he's telling me not to change anything, if he says just be careful, slow down, exercise, but I was never kind of given instructions on eating So it was like, okay, whatever. And I'm pre-diabetic, so I just assumed that I really did just assume that what he said was good, and I was good to go.
And
Right.
that's,
We've heard that from many patients
yeah.
who later wish that their doctors had made a bigger deal and sounded the alarm. And so, shame on the doctors who are failing to sound the alarm. It's just when they see it every day, they've become used to it. And that's a disservice to patients.
I mean, they get used to it, but you would think that they would have a solid speech prepared that literally, and it's not about fear mongering. I'm so tired of hearing fear mongering. You know what? There is a reality that there is stuff that is going to happen if you don't take control. I get it even in our groups. You know, when I actually state the reality of what they can expect, they call me a fear mongerer. And that's not on me. That's on you that you want to hide from the reality of your own decision not to take control of your health, not to exercise, not to eat better, not to take your medicines as prescribed. And that's
Abs-
what's really frustrating. We
Absolutely.
gotta hit, we gotta face this head on because this is a real problem.
The fact is, eating right and exercising does take work. It does take planning, it takes some willpower. It means being active when you're not feeling like it. But the reason we do it is because we want to avoid all of the potential catastrophes, but also all those positives, right? And so a lot of patients want us to emphasize the positives. What are the reasons that I'll, am I going to feel better? And how is this going to help me not just avoid bad complications but make me feel better? And I ask patients to write down or to record in their phone a lot of the reasons why they're going to benefit, both the positives and by avoiding the negatives. And when they feel these excuses bubbling up from their subconscious brain to trick them into not taking the high road, they should get in the habit of looking at the reasons that they've recorded. So that helps remind them what's at stake and why it's worth putting in the work. I would love it to hear if any people out there have faced down their excuses and taken the high road when they didn't, you know, when they were on the fence about it.
Yeah, Marcia, do you want to weigh in?
Well, my biggest, I didn't actually record it, but I'm scared to death to lose my legs, um, and my vision. So that, those are motivating factors, but it's hard. It's hard to stay the
Yeah.
course. I've been doing this for 2 years now and completely changed my life. And the holidays got me. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
So now it's time to get back on track.
Yeah. In addition to helping you avoid catastrophe, does your life benefit from these efforts?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in spite of the fact that I have PAD and diabetes, I feel better now than I ever have because I'm exercising. I lost weight. Mentally, I mean, it's still a burden that you have these diseases, but when you feel better, your mind is clearer, I think. So, I mean, yeah, it's the worst thing and best thing that's ever happened to me. It's what I tell people.
Yeah.
And what about you, Douglas? Douglas, you wanted to weigh in.
I I absolutely agree with what she just said. It really, even though I hate what I have, but it's also helped change my lifestyle and made it better. But I had a question I was thinking is I had this discussion this morning with someone. He's not walking like we instruct him to walk. But he says I walk 20 to 30,000 steps a day in my job within like a quarter of a mile of distance. But it's not one steady walk. It's back and forth, back and forth. But he was wondering, does that make as big a difference as doing the 30-minute nonstop walking to you? And he was wondering because he says we don't eat properly on the job. He's in a plant, and he says, I get two 15-minute breaks. I have to eat real quick,
And
and he
so
says
number
it's
one, I'll
hard to
address
eat
I'll address the
properly.
first part about it when with the walking aspect of it, because I think that's more towards exercise physiotherapy. And we do have Dr. Chris Seenan, who comes on twice a month. He's a physiotherapist from Glasgow, Scotland, and our global walking researcher of the year. And what he typically says, he's on Wednesday mornings, and he typically says, you still got to set aside those 30 minutes. Any exercise is good exercise. Great. You're walking. But if you already have PAD, the only way to improve your symptoms is not just to continue on continuing on in the way you have, which didn't help prevent you from getting where you are. You need to start doing that 30-minute regimented walking program where you're pushing through that claudication and really setting that time aside to push through that claudication in order to improve those symptoms. In terms of diet, I'll leave that to you, Dr. Danziger.
Yeah, some of us say you can't out eat you can't out exercise a bad diet. So no matter how much exercise you do, how much walking you do, if your eating is off track, if you're eating in a way that's damaging your arteries, then that's a problem that needs to be dealt with. Your arteries love the the colorful fruits and vegetables all have healing properties for the arteries. And if you're not eating vegetables, if you're eating, refined starch and sugar and animal fat, that's clogging up the arteries. And so all the walking in the world's not going to fix it if your eating is off track.
So
And for
I have
people,
this question then with that, the sugar part about that. Pre-diabetic. I'm reading the back of my labels, and I'm told to watch my sodium. My sodium right now is my number one thing I'm paying attention to. But if you get something with low sodium, it has high sugar. If you have something with low sugar, it has high. So how do you find? I'm trouble finding that balance between all of it and getting the
stop
proper.
shop the perimeter. Don't look. If you have to read a label, then it's probably not the right food for you. It's not the best food. So trying to shop in the fresh produce section or in the freezer section where you're able to get, a big bag of vegetables at a lower cost or a big bag of fruit at a lower cost. The fewer ingredients, probably, I would say, Dr. Danziger, do you agree? The
I
better.
agree. I agree.
And when you're actually, what are your best tips? He mentioned that this person that was working in a plant only has two 15-minute breaks that, he has to eat quickly. Probably doesn't have a lot of time to prepare. I know for me on Sundays, because I'm so strapped for time, I put things aside. I create, a big bowl of salad that I can easily just throw into a quick container with a fork and just take it with me where I go, or I'll pack an egg with an apple or apple and peanut butter or something like that that's pretty quick to eat.
Yeah, eating in 15 minutes is not that hard to do when you bring your lunch and it's with you and or easily accessible. And so the key is bring your food with you, and it should be healthy food. And low sodium is not difficult because fruits and vegetables are already low in sodium, and a lot of healthy proteins are low in sodium, especially if you cook them yourself. And so when you're eating foods that have one ingredient rather than processed packaged foods that have a million ingredients, that's how you steer clear of sodium. So bringing 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 your meals can make a big difference. It's possible, an example is a homemade soup. So people can learn to make soup. It doesn't have to have a ton of salt in it. It can be made of vegetables and healthy protein, and it can be in a thermos, and you can drink it down in 3 minutes.
And Douglas, you've become a pro at making those soups and your stews in the Instapot. And it might be a great suggestion for whomever you did talk to today to do the same. And then you can fix 3 or 4 different um, thermoses that you can just grab and go. Do it on a Sunday. Take an hour. Throw those things into a pot. Big bag of frozen vegetables, maybe some potatoes, and some meat if you eat meat, and then press the button on the Instapot for 15 minutes, and then it's done. And then just dump it into those thermoses. Easy breezy. It's just a matter of prioritizing it, right? I mean, again, we're talking about excuses. I don't have time. Um, I also, my other favorite, this one I get all the time, Dr. Danziger. Oh, I have to cook for my kids and my grandkids. I have a big house full, and so I'm not going to cook a whole bunch of different meals for everybody. And this person doesn't like this, and this person doesn't like this. I know when I was growing up, either I ate what was served or I didn't eat. And I feel like more and more today that parents are training their kids and catering to their kids and their pickiness instead of training them to eat what's right in front of them and what's good for them.
I couldn't agree more. With children, it's the parents' responsibility to teach them how to eat right and to exercise. And role modeling is the best way to do that. And so serving a salad with protein might not be a kid's idea of what dinner could be, but they get used to it. And that's how you role model. They might ask for mac and cheese and throw a temper tantrum, and teenagers are especially difficult. But you got to do what you got to do to protect your children from the world of unhealthy food out there. And so, in general, dinner ought to be protein and vegetables, and we'll talk about details of what healthy meals are like in another episode. But the parents are in charge, not the children.
Yeah. And my other favorite is I can't afford healthy food. And I know that a lot of the pantries do offer a lot of processed foods, but there are more and more churches, in particular, if you look them up, that do have the offerings of fresh vegetables. And I know a lot of the supermarkets in different areas, if you can find the right ones that do donate, and you can find out where do they donate their stuff that expires that day. But it's about, and what I've found even for myself, it's about sitting down at the beginning of the month and prioritizing my food, making sure that I am prioritizing my funds towards that food versus anything else, and starting there. Because your health, nothing else in your life is going to be as important if you're not alive to enjoy it. So eating right, it needs to be the
That's
priority.
right. It is possible to eat healthily on a budget. There's all sorts of online resources to help people do that. But there's a lot of vegetables out there that are less than $1 or $1.50 per pound. And there's a lot of fruits out there that are less than $1.50 or $2 a pound. And then there's canned beans, canned tuna. There's a lot of healthy foods that are expensive, but those aren't needed. And, with thought and practice and really making an effort, people can eat healthily on a budget.
And Douglas has put those resources out there. Douglas, in our book, Food for Thought, we have about 4 or 5 pages dedicated to all the government resources that are available, complete with phone numbers and websites that you and everybody else can use in order to start the process of finding the help that you and others need to eat healthier um, on a budget. And Marcia has a question, but I know that you're tight on time here, Dr. Danziger, with only a few minutes left. But Marcia, go ahead.
I was just curious if prediabetes and type 2 is reversible with diet alone. or at all? Or is it
Yeah,
reversible?
that's a great question. Is type 2 diabetes reversible? So absolutely 100% yes. So there's no cure for type 2 diabetes, and type 2 diabetes can get into remission, which means normal blood sugar without medications. And the majority of people, patients that I've seen, have the capacity, that the biological ability to get into remission if they have weight to lose. And so for most patients, there's a weight that they could achieve that could get their type 2 diabetes into remission. For people who don't have weight to lose, then getting remission is much more challenging. And the goal is still to be have a normal blood sugar or nearly normal blood sugar with the least amount of medication needed to do so. And so a thoughtful eating strategy that's a good match for the individual is the best way to reverse it as much as possible. So when I use the term diabetes reversal, to me that means the effort, the act of trying to get as close to remission as possible.
Thank you.
And what do you think about Becky online has a question about Gatorade and the light Gatorade, Gator lights. I know you're going to say lemon and water, lemon and water, lemon and water. Is that right?
Oh,
Well,
I'm listening to oh, okay. So yeah, so Gatorade has sugar in it, and that's a problem. And Gatorade has less sugar in it than cola or fruit juice. And so it's a middle ground between water with lemon versus fruit juice. And so for some people who are looking for, a compromise, a middle ground solution, then Gatorade or Gatorade Light, which I think has artificial sweeteners in there, is better than, it's a middle ground compromise. Some people are not looking to compromise at all and want to know what's healthy and not healthy. So no, I'm not thrilled about Gatorade Light. Drink water with lemon, but there's worse things you could drink, but there's also better. So it's a middle ground.
Thank you, Dr. Danziger. I know we're tight on time here. What are your final thoughts? What should the takeaways be for people who are coming up with every excuse in the world as to why they cannot start the process of preventing and reversing their diabetes today?
Well, it's in you, and you have to dig deep, and you have to treat it like your life is at stake. And if someone literally pointed a gun at your head and said, you have to make it happen, no more excuses, you would find a way. And so think of it like that, that your life is at stake. And although it's not going to kill you tomorrow, it could kill you the day after tomorrow. And so um, just do it and persist, and it's a life skill. I'm going to sum up with a 2-minute poem, if I may.
Yes.
Okay, so here's my poem for the day. This one's called Excuse Me, But No More Excuses. I'm too busy. Oh, I need my glasses. I'm too busy. Can't find the time. Between work and life, it's such a climb. The gym is far. My shoes. Healthy foods, too much to pay. I'll stick with fast food, call it a day. I'm just too tired to move my feet. I'll exercise after I eat. I don't know how to cook a thing, and who's got time for the meal prep bling? Veggies, nope, they're not my style. Bring on the chips, they're worth the while. Motivation, that's out the door. It'll come later, oh, never more. But wait, what's this? A change of pace? Excuses gone, I'm in the race. No more saying I'll start tomorrow. I'm taking charge, no need to borrow. Healthy food can taste so sweet, like avocados or roasted beet, leafy greens and vibrant fruit, a healthy meal that's really cute. No more processed junk for me. I'll choose the things that set me free. A salad here, a smoothie there, veggies and nuts, I'm fully aware. It's not about the price or name, it's eating right and feeling sane. So here I am, on track and strong. A healthier me is where I belong. No more whining, no more doubt. Time to rise and work it out.